Deep in the shadows of forgotten temples, and beneath the weight of ancient stones, something strange lingers in the air. Not a presence you can see, but one you can feel vibrating through your bones. Across the world, sacred sites whisper secrets in sounds that defy explanation. These are not echoes you can easily dismiss. They are precise, haunting, and sometimes terrifyingly intelligent in their design. For centuries, archaeologists have stood baffled in these places, recording tones that shouldn't exist, harmonies that modern science struggles to replicate. Some call it the work of lost technology. Others swear it's something far older, something not entirely of this world. Today, we're stepping into the heart of these mysteries. Picture this: a single clap in a 5,000-year-old tomb sends back a chorus of harmonic frequencies, as if the stones themselves are singing. Imagine wind rushing through an ancient temple, not with a howl, but with a clear, piercing whistle, one that priests may have once interpreted as the voice of the gods. What about pyramids that answer human hands with the cries of sacred birds? Or underground chambers where the very air vibrates at frequencies that alter consciousness? These are not legends, these are recorded phenomena waiting in the silence of these sites for the next visitor to awaken them. By the end of this journey, you'll hear 50 of the most chilling, awe-inspiring acoustic mysteries ever documented. Some may shake your understanding of history. Others might leave you questioning what else these ancient builders knew and what they intended us to hear. Stay close, the stones are listening, and so are we. Now let's journey to Ireland, where the ancient stones of Newgrange hold a secret that still resonates today. Built over 5,000 years ago, this massive passage tomb isn't just a marvel of Neolithic engineering, it's a carefully crafted instrument. Step inside, clap your hands just once, and something extraordinary happens. Instead of a simple echo, the chamber answers back with a cascade of harmonic frequencies, as if the stones themselves are singing in perfect chorus. Archaeologists and acoustic experts have studied this phenomenon, and what they've discovered is astonishing. The tomb's precise arrangement of stones creates a series of reflections that amplify and layer sound in ways that shouldn't be possible by accident. The builders didn't just stack rocks, they designed them to manipulate sound with mathematical precision. Some researchers believe this was intentional, a form of Neolithic sound engineering meant to mimic the voices of spirits or deities during rituals. Others suggest the tomb's acoustics could have been used to enhance chanting or drumming, turning ceremonies into immersive, otherworldly experiences. What's truly chilling is how advanced this knowledge seems. Without modern tools, how did these ancient builders understand the physics of sound so deeply? Was it trial and error, or did they possess insights we're only now rediscovering? One thing's certain: when you stand in that dark chamber and hear the walls sing back to you, it's hard to believe it's just an accident of stone and space. The Harmonic Choir of Newgrange doesn't just echo, it remembers, and it's waiting for the next listener to awaken its ancient song. Now let's travel across the ocean to the highlands of Peru, where the ancient temple of Chavín de Huantar holds its own acoustic mystery. Deep within this 3,000-year-old sacred site, something extraordinary happens when the wind blows. Hidden ventilation shafts carved into the stone begin to sing, producing eerie whistle-like tones that echo through the dark passageways. Modern researchers have discovered these sounds aren't accidental. The temple's builders designed the ventilation system with precise angles and chambers that transform wind into haunting musical notes. When air flows through these narrow stone ducts, it creates vibrations that mimic the sound of conch shell trumpets, instruments known to be used in ancient Andean rituals. Some archaeologists believe these whistling chambers were intentionally crafted to simulate the voices of spirits or gods during ceremonies, adding a supernatural layer to religious experiences. Recent acoustic studies reveal just how sophisticated this ancient technology was. By analyzing the airflow and resonance patterns, scientists confirmed the temple's ducts were engineered to produce specific frequencies. Some tones even fall within ranges known to induce trance-like states, suggesting the sound may have played a role in shamanic rituals. What's most fascinating is how this ancient culture harnessed natural forces, wind and stone, to create something almost magical. The whistling chambers of Chavín de Huantar don't just carry air, they carry echoes of a civilization that understood sound as something sacred, something powerful enough to bridge the human and the divine. And even today, when the mountain winds rise, the temple still sings its ghostly song. Leaving the whistling winds of Peru behind, we now journey to the heart of ancient Greece, where the Temple of Apollo at Delphi holds one of history's most intriguing acoustic mysteries. Deep within the temple's sacred inner chamber, known as the Aditon, something extraordinary happened when the oracle, the Pythia, spoke. Ordinary whispers seemed to transform into booming, otherworldly pronouncements, convincing visitors they were hearing the voice of Apollo himself. Modern researchers believe this supernatural effect was no accident. The temple's architects likely designed the Aditon with precise geometry, angled walls, and a sunken floor that naturally amplified and distorted sound. When the Pythia whispered her prophecies from this sunken pit, the chamber's acoustics would magnify her voice, making it resonate through the space with an eerie, godlike quality. Some theories suggest underground fissures beneath the temple may have released intoxicating vapors, adding to the mystical atmosphere, but the chamber's acoustic properties alone could have created an awe-inspiring experience for ancient pilgrims. Recent experiments have tried to recreate this effect. Archaeologists and acousticians built a scale model of the Aditon, testing how sound travels in such a space. They discovered that even soft speech, when uttered from the right spot, becomes dramatically amplified and distorted, taking on an almost supernatural timbre. This supports the idea that the Pythia's prophecies weren't just spiritual theater, they were enhanced by sophisticated ancient engineering. What's remarkable is how this simple acoustic trick could shape history. For centuries, rulers and commoners alike made life-altering decisions based on the oracle's words, never realizing they might have been swayed by the power of sound itself. The Temple of Apollo didn't just house a prophet, it was a carefully crafted instrument, turning whispers into divine commands and leaving us to wonder how much of the ancient world was moved not by gods, but by the unseen magic of acoustics. Now let's step into the dense jungles of Mexico, where the towering steps of El Castillo Pyramid hold a secret that only reveals itself when you clap your hands. At first glance, this ancient Mayan structure is a marvel of architecture, but its true magic lies in the echoes it creates. A single hand clap at the base of the pyramid doesn't just bounce back. It transforms into a sharp, chirping sound, almost identical to the call of the Quetzal bird, a creature sacred to the Maya and deeply woven into their mythology. This isn't just a curious coincidence. Researchers believe the pyramid's design was meticulously calculated to produce this exact effect. The steep staircases and precise angles of El Castillo act like a natural sound filter, breaking down the clap into rapid, high-pitched echoes that mimic the Quetzal's distinctive cry. For the Maya, the Quetzal wasn't just a bird. It symbolized freedom, divinity, and the connection between earth and sky. So the idea that their pyramid could literally echo its voice suggests something extraordinary. The Maya may have engineered their sacred site to speak back to them in the language of the gods. Acoustic studies have confirmed that the effect is most pronounced when you stand directly in front of the pyramid's main staircase. The sound waves bounce off each step in quick succession, creating that unmistakable chirping ripple. Some experts argue this was purely accidental, a happy byproduct of the pyramid's geometry. But given how deeply the Maya revered the Quetzal, and how precisely their other structures align with celestial events, it's hard to dismiss the possibility that this was intentional acoustic symbolism, a way to embed spiritual meaning into the very stones. Imagine standing there centuries ago, clapping your hands and hearing the sacred Quetzal answer you from the walls of the pyramid. It would have been a powerful, almost mystical experience, reinforcing the belief that this place was alive with divine presence. Whether by design or serendipity, El Castillo's echoes remind us that ancient builders didn't just create monuments, they crafted experiences using sound to blur the line between the human and the holy. Next, we'll descend into the depths of another ancient wonder, where the very walls seem to hum with a frequency that alters perception, the Hypogeum of Malta. But that's a story for another moment. Now let's journey beneath the surface of Malta, where the ancient Hypogeum of Halsaflieni hides an acoustic mystery that defies simple explanation. This underground temple, carved from solid limestone over 5,000 years ago, isn't just a marvel of Neolithic engineering, it's a place where sound takes on a life of its own. Step into its chambers and you might feel the air itself vibrate with a low, resonant hum, a frequency so precise it seems to ripple through your bones. What makes this even more astonishing is how these sounds interact with the human mind. Researchers have discovered that certain chambers in the Hypogeum produce frequencies between 90 and 120 Hz, a range known to affect brain activity. At these tones, the mind can enter a state of heightened awareness or even mild trance, something that might explain why visitors often describe feeling disoriented, euphoric, or as if they're hearing voices from another time. Some report a sense of being watched, while others swear they've caught whispers in a language no one recognizes. The Hypogeum's design suggests this wasn't accidental. Its oval chambers, carved ceilings, and strategically placed niches amplify and direct sound in ways that still baffle acousticians today. One chamber, known as the Oracle Room, is particularly eerie. Speak softly into a small niche in its wall, and your voice echoes unnervingly, filling the entire space as if the walls themselves are repeating your words. Archaeologists believe this room may have been used for rituals, where priests or shamans harnessed these acoustic effects to commune with the divine or induce visions. Modern visitors have shared chilling accounts of their experiences. Some describe an overwhelming sense of dread in certain passages, while others feel an inexplicable pull toward specific chambers, as if the sound is guiding them. One team of researchers even recorded strange, unidentifiable noises deep within the Hypogeum sounds that vanished the moment they tried to pinpoint their source. Whether these phenomena were intentional or a side effect of the Hypogeum's construction, one thing is clear: the Neolithic builders understood sound's power in ways we're only beginning to grasp. This wasn't just a temple, it was an instrument designed to resonate with both the earth and the human psyche. Next, we'll travel to the windswept plains of France, where the standing stones of Carnac don't just stand silent, they sing. But that's a revelation for another moment. From the echoing chambers of Malta, we now find ourselves on the windswept coast of Brittany, where the ancient stones of Carnac hold a musical secret. Stretching across the landscape in precise rows, these megaliths have stood for over 6,000 years, but they aren't just silent sentinels. Some of these massive stones sing. Strike certain rocks with a small hammer, and instead of a dull thud, you'll hear a clear metallic ring, almost like a bell. This isn't random, it's the result of quartz crystals embedded deep within the stone. When compressed or struck, quartz generates piezoelectricity, a tiny electric charge that vibrates the rock, producing that eerie, resonant tone. What's fascinating is how many of these ringing stones are clustered near burial mounds and ritual sites, suggesting the Neolithic builders knew exactly what they were doing. Archaeoacoustics researchers have mapped these sonic stones, revealing patterns that hint at intentional placement. Some theories propose they were used in rituals, their tones marking sacred moments or even serving as a prehistoric form of communication. Local legends speak of druids summoning spirits with the stone's music, while others claim the sounds could heal or ward off evil. Modern experiments show that when struck in sequence, the stones produce distinct pitches, some even matching ancient musical scales. Were they part of a lost sound-based ceremony, a way to mark celestial events, or something even more mysterious? The truth may lie buried with the builders, but one thing's certain: at Carnac, the past doesn't just whisper, it sings. Next, we'll descend into the heart of Mexico, where the Pyramid of the Sun hums with a low, persistent frequency that no one can fully explain. But that's a mystery for another moment. Now, let's journey to the heart of ancient Mexico, where the Pyramid of the Sun stands as a silent giant with a voice of its own. Visitors and researchers have long reported a strange, low-frequency hum emanating from this massive structure, a sound so deep it's almost felt more than heard. Unlike the metallic rings of Carnac, this hum lingers in the air, a steady vibration that seems to rise from the very stones beneath your feet. What makes this phenomenon even more intriguing is its resemblance to modern infrasound frequencies below the range of human hearing, yet capable of producing physical sensations like unease or awe. Some scientists speculate that the pyramid's sheer size and precise geometry might act as a natural amplifier, channeling wind or even seismic activity into this eerie resonance. Others point to the underground tunnels beneath Teotihuacán, suggesting they could funnel air currents in ways that generate these mysterious vibrations. But here's the twist: the hum isn't constant. It comes and goes unpredictably, often reported at dawn or during shifts in weather. Local guides whisper that the pyramid wakes up, while archaeologists debate whether the builders engineered this effect intentionally. Could it have been part of rituals designed to unsettle or inspire? Or is it simply a quirk of geology, a coincidence the ancient Teotihuacanos learned to harness? One thing's for sure, standing near the summit as the hum rises around you, it's hard not to feel like you're hearing the echo of something far older than history. Next, we'll travel to the sacred groves of Greece, where the rustling leaves of Dodona's oracle trees were said to carry the voice of Zeus himself. Leaving the humming stones of Teotihuacán behind, we now step into the whispering world of ancient Greece, where the very air seemed to speak with divine authority. In the sacred grove of Dodona, the rustle of oak leaves wasn't just wind, it was the voice of Zeus himself. This oracle, older than even Delphi, relied not on echoing chambers or stone acoustics, but on nature's own instruments. Picture this: a grove of ancient oaks, their branches heavy with bronze vessels, cauldrons, bowls, and chimes, all carefully placed to catch the slightest breeze. As wind swept through, these metal objects would clink and hum, while the leaves above created a layered symphony of whispers. Priestesses known as the Peleiades, or doves, would stand beneath the trees, interpreting every sound as a message from the gods. A sudden chime might signal approval, while a prolonged rattle could warn of danger. What's fascinating is how modern archaeologists have pieced together this soundscape. Excavations revealed fragments of bronze vessels, some still bearing inscriptions that match ancient descriptions of Dodona's rituals. Researchers even recreated the setup, hanging replicas from oak branches, and found that wind patterns in the valley naturally amplify certain tones, creating distinct words from randomness. But here's the mystery: the priestesses' interpretations were eerily accurate, guiding kings and commoners alike. Was it mere coincidence, or did they master a lost art of reading nature's acoustics? Some theories suggest the oaks themselves were chosen for their unique leaf structures, which vibrate at frequencies that feel almost speech-like. Others propose the priestesses entered trance states, their minds attuned to patterns we've since forgotten. One thing's certain: standing in Dodona today, where the wind still dances through the trees, you can almost hear the echoes of those ancient prophecies. Next, we'll journey to the misty jungles of Indonesia, where dawn breaks not with silence, but with the ghostly chants of Borobudur. Now, let's travel from the whispering oaks of Greece to the mist-shrouded jungles of Java, where dawn at Borobudur awakens with something far more haunting than birdsong. Imagine standing atop the world's largest Buddhist temple as the first light spills over the volcanic peaks, only to hear faint, rhythmic chanting rising from the stones themselves. No monks in sight, no speakers hidden in the labyrinth of stupas, just an otherworldly chorus that vanishes as suddenly as it begins. Locals call it Jending Sriwijaya, the eternal chant of an ancient kingdom. According to legend, the sound is the trapped prayers of monks who meditated here over 1200 years ago, their voices woven into the very fabric of Borobudur's volcanic stone. Some say it's the temple's guardian spirits, the Dharmapalas, reciting sutras to protect the sacred site. Others insist it's an acoustic illusion, the wind channeling through the temple's 72 perforated stupas, each hollow bell-shaped structure acting like a natural flute. But here's what baffles scientists. Recordings of the phenomenon reveal distinct Sanskrit phrases, matching inscriptions found on the temple walls. When researchers tried to replicate the effect by placing microphones around the site, they captured something even stranger. The chants seemed to move, circling the temple's terraces as if carried by invisible walkers. Could Borobudur's builders have engineered this? The temple's design mirrors the Buddhist cosmos, with each level representing a stage of enlightenment. Some scholars believe the chanting is no accident, but a deliberate sonic representation of the Buddhavekana, the eternal voice of the Buddha himself. Yet for all the theories, one thing remains unexplained: why the chants only manifest at dawn and only to certain listeners. Visitors describe everything from whispered mantras to full monastic chorales, often accompanied by a scent of incense, despite no visible source. Next, we'll step into the echoing halls of Egypt's Luxor temple, where the stones don't just whisper, they knock back. But before we unravel the mystery of those echoing halls, let's step into the shadowed columns of Luxor temple, where the past doesn't just whisper, it knocks back. Deep within the hypostyle hall, where towering pillars stretch like stone giants, visitors and archaeologists alike have reported something unsettling: sharp, rhythmic knocking sounds with no visible source. These aren't random echoes or creaking stones. They're deliberate, almost conversational, like an unseen hand tapping back in response. The phenomenon is so consistent that researchers have set up recording equipment, capturing the knocks even when the temple is empty. Stranger still, the sounds seem to cluster around the hall's northern side, near reliefs depicting the god Amun-Ra. Some locals believe it's the Ba, or soul, of the pharaohs demanding attention, while others swear it's the work of mischievous spirits trapped in the stone. Engineers have scoured the site for explanations: hidden chambers, shifting stones, even underground water flow. But here's the twist: the knocks don't match any known natural acoustics of the temple. They're too precise, too localized. One theory suggests the ancient Egyptians might have embedded hollow resonators in the pillars, designed to amplify ritual drumming or mimic divine communication. Yet no such devices have ever been found. Even skeptics pause when hearing the recordings. The knocks sometimes form patterns like coded messages. During one study, a researcher clapped 3 times, and after a pause, 3 knocks replied. Coincidence, perhaps, but in a temple built to bridge the human and divine, where priests once interpreted the will of gods, it's hard not to wonder: are these echoes of a forgotten ritual or something far older reaching through time? Next, we'll journey to the windswept moors of Scotland, where the stones don't just stand, they sing. Now, let's leave the echoing halls of Luxor behind and cross the sea to the windswept moors of Scotland, where the ancient stones of Callanish don't just stand in silence, they sing. Or rather, they moan. On the Isle of Lewis, this sprawling stone circle, older than Stonehenge, has been the source of eerie, mournful sounds for thousands of years. When strong winds sweep across the landscape, the stones seem to come alive, emitting low, haunting tones that ripple through the air like ghostly laments. Visitors describe the sound as something between a deep hum and a sorrowful wail, as if the stones themselves are grieving. Scientists have studied the phenomenon and believe it's caused by wind tunnel effects, the way gusts funnel between the towering monoliths, creating vibrations that resonate through the rock. But here's the catch: not all the stones moan. Only certain ones placed at precise intervals produce these unsettling sounds. That's led researchers to wonder if the Neolithic builders intentionally arranged them this way, crafting a natural instrument that responded to the wind. Local legends add another layer to the mystery. Some say the stones are the petrified remains of giants who refused to convert to Christianity, forever crying out in anguish. Others believe they're gateways to the otherworld, with the moans serving as warnings or calls from spirits. What's fascinating is how these beliefs align with archaeological evidence suggesting the site was used for rituals involving sound and movement. The stone's placement may have created a sacred soundscape where the wind's voice was seen as divine communication. Modern experiments show that the tones produced match frequencies known to alter brain activity, potentially inducing trance-like states. Could the moaning stones have been part of Neolithic ceremonies designed to bridge the physical and spiritual worlds, or is it simply the wind playing an accidental symphony through time? Either way, standing among these stones as they hum in the gale is an experience that lingers long after the wind has died down. Next, we'll step into the corridors of Angkor Wat, where footsteps don't just echo, they roar like thunder. Stepping into the shadowed halls of Angkor Wat, visitors quickly notice something extraordinary: their own footsteps transform into something far grander. With each step, the stone corridors seem to breathe life into the sound, amplifying it into a deep, resonant boom that rolls through the temple like distant thunder. This isn't just an echo, it's an intentional acoustic marvel, one that may have been designed to evoke the presence of Indra, the Hindu god of storms and war, whose mythology is woven into the very stones of this ancient complex. Archaeologists studying the site have mapped how specific passageways act as natural amplifiers, channeling sound waves in ways that create this thunderous effect. The builders of Angkor Wat, nearly 900 years ago, arranged the corridors with precise angles and materials that catch even the lightest footfall and magnify it into something celestial. Some researchers believe this was no accident, that the architects understood acoustics well enough to craft a sacred soundscape where every visitor literally walked with the voice of the gods. Local guides often demonstrate the phenomenon by clapping or stomping in key spots, sending waves of sound crashing through the temple. The effect is most pronounced in the Western galleries, where the architecture aligns perfectly to produce these dramatic reverberations. It's easy to imagine how, during ceremonies, the rhythmic footsteps of priests and pilgrims might have filled the space with a continuous, rolling thunder, mimicking the storms of Indra's realm. Beyond its spiritual significance, the thunder drum effect reveals the Khmer Empire's sophisticated grasp of engineering. They didn't just build for beauty or durability, they built for sound, creating spaces where architecture and acoustics merged into something transcendent. Whether meant to awe worshippers, honor the divine, or simply showcase the empire's ingenuity, the result is the same: a temple that still speaks centuries later in the language of storms. Next, we'll journey to India, where a whispering gallery carries secrets across impossible distances. Now, let's travel to the heart of India, where an architectural marvel defies the very laws of sound. The Whispering Gallery of Gol Gum, isn't just a stunning mausoleum, it's a masterpiece of acoustic engineering. Built in the 17th century, this massive dome holds a secret. Stand at one end of its circular gallery, whisper a word, and someone 37 meters away will hear it as clearly as if you were right beside them. It's a phenomenon that feels almost supernatural, yet it's rooted in the brilliant science of Islamic architects. The dome's perfect curvature acts like a sound mirror, capturing even the faintest whisper and bouncing it along the walls without losing clarity. Every angle, every curve was calculated with precision, turning the entire space into a natural amplifier. Historians believe this wasn't just for show. Islamic scholars of the time had a deep understanding of acoustics, using geometry and physics to create spaces where sound could travel in ways that seemed magical. Some theories suggest these designs were meant to enhance prayers or even allow confidential messages to pass unheard by others in the room. Modern engineers have studied Gol Gumbaz and confirmed its acoustic perfection. The dome's height and diameter create a resonance that carries sound waves in a continuous loop, almost like a hidden wire connecting two distant points. Visitors today still test it, murmuring secrets across the void, only to hear them returned with eerie precision. It's a reminder of how advanced Islamic science was centuries ago, blending art, spirituality, and innovation into structures that still leave us in awe. Next, we'll uncover the musical mystery hidden within the ancient pillars of Hampi, where stone seems to sing. Now, let's step into the mystical ruins of Hampi, where stone doesn't just stand silent, it sings. The Virupaksha Temple, a jewel of India's Vijayanagara Empire, hides an acoustic secret in its very pillars. Tap certain ones gently, and they respond with clear, musical tones, as if the stone itself were alive. These aren't random echoes. Each pillar produces a distinct pitch, almost like keys on a giant, ancient instrument. Locals call them the crying pillars, and the legends behind them are as haunting as the sounds they make. One tale speaks of imprisoned musicians, their souls trapped within the stone by a vengeful king. Another suggests the pillars were deliberately tuned by master craftsmen to mimic the 7 notes of the classical Indian scale, creating a hidden symphony for sacred rituals. Modern researchers have confirmed the phenomenon. Some pillars contain metallic alloys or unique mineral compositions that vibrate at precise frequencies when struck. But here's the eerie part. No two pillars sound exactly alike, and the tones seem to change depending on the time of day or even the humidity in the air. Visitors who have experienced it describe an uncanny feeling, as if the temple itself is whispering secrets through these musical stones. Archaeologists suspect the effect was intentional, blending spirituality with advanced material science. Imagine priests or devotees moving through the halls, tapping pillars in sequence, their chants accompanied by this otherworldly resonance. It's a reminder that in Hampi, even the architecture was designed to transcend the ordinary, turning worship into a multisensory experience. Up next, we'll journey to England's Salisbury Plain, where the stones of Stonehenge might have once echoed with metallic chimes, a sound lost to time but hinted at in ancient texts. Now, let's turn our attention to the windswept plains of England, where Stonehenge stands as one of history's most enigmatic monuments. While its towering stones are famous for their alignment with the solstices, there's another mystery hidden within them: sound. Recent discoveries suggest that some of Stonehenge's bluestones, when struck, produce sharp, metallic tones reminiscent of a gong or bell. Archaeologists have long noted that these bluestones, transported over 150 miles from Wales, have unusual acoustic properties. When tested with small hammers, certain stones emit clear, resonant sounds that carry surprisingly far across the open landscape. This has led researchers to theorize that Stonehenge might have been more than just a visual spectacle. It could have been a vast, ancient instrument. Imagine standing among these stones during a ritual, the air vibrating with deep, otherworldly tones as priests or shamans struck them in sequence. Modern experiments have confirmed that the bluestones contain high levels of quartz, a mineral known for its ability to produce sound under pressure. Some scientists even suggest that the stones were deliberately chosen for their sonic qualities, turning Stonehenge into a kind of Bronze Age soundscape. Local folklore adds to the intrigue, with tales of the stones singing during certain weather conditions or celestial events. What's truly fascinating is how these sounds might have been used. Were they part of religious ceremonies meant to connect the physical and spiritual worlds, or did they serve as a form of communication, their tones carrying messages across the plains? While we may never know for certain, the idea of Stonehenge as a place of both sight and sound adds a thrilling layer to its mystery. Next, we'll venture beneath the pyramids of Chichen Itza, where an underground river may hold the key to another ancient acoustic phenomenon. Now, let's descend into the heart of Mexico's ancient Maya civilization, where the towering El Castillo pyramid at Chichen Itza hides a secret beneath its stone steps. Deep below this iconic structure lies a hidden cenote, a natural sinkhole filled with water, and researchers believe its presence may explain some of the most puzzling acoustic phenomena reported during ceremonies above. When archaeologists mapped the underground chambers using advanced imaging technology, they discovered that the cenote's shape and depth create unique reverberations. As water flows and echoes through the cavern, these sounds travel upward through porous limestone, subtly altering the acoustics at the pyramid's summit. Imagine standing atop El Castillo during a ritual where the distant rush of water blends with chants and drumbeats, creating an otherworldly soundscape. Some scholars suggest this wasn't accidental. The Maya may have intentionally built their sacred site above this natural amplifier to harness its eerie effects. Even more intriguing are reports that certain hand claps or vocalizations near the pyramid's base produce distorted echoes, almost as if the structure itself is responding. Modern acoustic studies reveal that these distortions align with the cenote's resonance frequencies, hinting at a sophisticated understanding of sound among the Maya. Could this underground river have been their version of a sacred instrument, its watery depths adding a mystical layer to their ceremonies? Local legends speak of the cenote as a gateway to the underworld, where the gods communicated through whispers in the water. Whether these sounds were seen as divine messages or simply a natural marvel, one thing is clear: the Maya didn't just build for the eyes, they crafted spaces where the very air and earth seemed to speak. Next, we'll journey to Sweden's bogs, where an ancient body's preservation may hold clues to another haunting auditory mystery. Leaving the echoing pyramids of Mexico behind, we now travel to the misty bogs of Sweden, where an ancient mystery hums beneath the peat. Here, in the very spot where the well-preserved Boxton Man was discovered, medieval villagers once reported hearing unearthly singing rising from the wetlands. This 14th-century bog body, with his remarkably intact hair and clothing, may hold the key to these eerie auditory legends. Scientists have noted that the unique chemistry of bogs can preserve soft tissues, including vocal cords, for centuries. When certain conditions align, like shifting water levels or temperature changes, these preserved tissues might vibrate as gases escape, producing faint musical tones. Imagine standing by the bog at twilight, hearing what sounds like a mournful chant drifting through the reeds. Local folklore claims these are the songs of the dead trapped between worlds. Archaeoacoustics researchers have even theorized that the Boxton Man's own vocal cords, frozen in time by the bog's tannins, could generate such sounds under specific atmospheric pressures. While we may never know if medieval villagers truly heard his voice, the science behind this phenomenon is as compelling as the legends. It's a haunting reminder that sometimes the past doesn't just speak to us, it sings. Up next, we'll venture to the jungles of Guatemala, where the Mayans engineered their reservoirs to twist sound in ways that still baffle experts today. Now, let's step into the dense jungles of Guatemala, where the ancient Mayans turned water into something far more mysterious. At Tikal, one of their greatest cities, the massive reservoirs weren't just for holding water. They were designed to transform sound in ways that still puzzle researchers today. Picture standing at the edge of one of these deep stone wells, dropping a pebble into the water. Instead of the usual splash, you hear an eerie, distorted echo that seems to ripple unnaturally through the air. The Mayans built these reservoirs with precise slopes and angles, creating acoustic effects that amplify and twist sounds in unexpected ways. A simple whisper near the water's edge could reverberate into something almost unrecognizable, like voices from another world. Archaeologists believe this wasn't accidental. The Mayans were master engineers, and these distortions may have played a role in rituals or ceremonies. Imagine priests using these strange echoes to mimic the voices of gods or spirits, adding an otherworldly layer to their sacred rites. Some researchers even suggest the wells acted as natural amplifiers, projecting chants or prayers across the city in ways that would have felt supernatural to those listening. What's even more fascinating is how these effects change depending on the water level. During the rainy season, the sounds deepen and stretch, while in the dry months they become sharper, almost metallic. It's as if the wells themselves were alive, responding to the rhythms of nature. Next, we'll journey to the deserts of China, where singing sand dunes near the Mogao caves create melodies so haunting they were once thought to be the voices of the divine. Leaving the echoing wells of Tikal behind, we now find ourselves in the vast deserts of northwestern China, where the sands themselves seem to sing. Near the sacred Mogao caves, a treasure trove of ancient Buddhist art, lies a stretch of dunes known as Mingsha Shan, the Singing Sand Mountain. Here, when the wind blows or footsteps disturb the slopes, the dunes produce deep, resonant tones that can be heard for miles, vibrating through the desert like a celestial choir. These aren't random noises. The dunes emit distinct musical frequencies, some reaching as low as 105 Hz, creating a hum that early travelers described as the chants of buried monks or the whispers of gods. Buddhist pilgrims visiting the nearby caves believed these sounds were divine messages, a harmony between earth and sky. Even today, locals say the dunes sing loudest at dawn and dusk, as if marking sacred time. Scientists have studied this phenomenon for decades, discovering that the sand grains here are uniquely shaped, perfectly round and uniform in size. When they slide against each other during avalanches, they create synchronized vibrations, much like the strings of an instrument. But what's truly remarkable is how the Mogao Caves artists may have drawn inspiration from these sounds. Some murals depict swirling figures resembling wind patterns, while others show musicians playing instruments that mimic the dunes' tones. The connection between art and acoustics runs deep. Ancient texts describe monks meditating to the dunes' ethereal music, using it as a spiritual backdrop for their rituals. Could the cave's serene Buddha statues and vibrant frescoes have been designed to harmonize with this natural symphony? One thing's certain: in this remote corner of the world, the line between the earthly and the divine was, and still is, etched in sound. Next, we'll wander through the narrow canyons of Petra, where footsteps take on a life of their own. Now, let's step into the rose-red city of Petra, where the very ground beneath your feet seems to play tricks on you. As you walk through the towering Sick Canyon, the narrow passageway that serves as Petra's grand entrance, something strange happens. Your footsteps don't just echo, they multiply. A single step can sound like a dozen, bouncing off the sandstone walls in a way that feels almost supernatural. The Nabateans, the ancient builders of Petra, were masters of engineering and spectacle. They carved this entire city from the rock, and the Sick wasn't just a pathway, it was a stage. Historians believe the disorienting echoes were no accident. Imagine a procession of priests or traders entering the city, their footsteps amplified into a rhythmic chorus, creating an awe-inspiring sense of grandeur before visitors even laid eyes on the treasury. The effect would have been theatrical, even mystical, reinforcing Petra's reputation as a place of power and wonder. Acoustic studies reveal that the Sick's unique shape, its high, smooth walls and winding path, acts like a natural sound funnel. Certain spots along the route create standing waves where echoes overlap and linger longer than usual. Some researchers suggest the Nabateans may have even enhanced these effects deliberately, carving alcoves or steps at precise angles to manipulate the sound further. Local guides still share stories of the phantom footsteps that sometimes follow visitors, even when no one else is around. Whether it's the wind, the rock's natural acoustics, or something more mysterious, the Sick's echoes remain one of Petra's most haunting features. Next, we'll uncover the musical secrets hidden in the bell caves of Beit Guvrin, where stalactites ring like ancient chimes. Now, let's journey beneath the earth to the bell caves of Beit Guvrin, where the very walls seem to sing. Hidden in Israel's lowlands, these vast underground quarries were carved out over centuries, their ceilings dotted with stalactites that hold a surprising secret. Strike one gently, and it rings out like a clear, metallic bell. Archaeologists believe these caves weren't just mined for stone. The resonant stalactites, some producing tones as pure as crafted instruments, suggest they may have been used in early Christian rituals. Imagine the atmosphere, flickering oil lamps casting shadows as voices chanted hymns, their melodies punctuated by the eerie harmonic chimes of the cave itself. The acoustics here are extraordinary sound lingers, blending human voices and natural tones into something almost otherworldly. What makes these formations ring? The answer lies in their composition. Unlike typical limestone stalactites, these contain dense concentrations of minerals, giving them a rigidity that vibrates at specific frequencies when struck. Researchers have mapped dozens of these bell stones, noting that their pitches vary, hinting at possible intentional selection for musical or ceremonial use. Local tradition holds that the caves were once sacred spaces, where the ringing stones were believed to carry prayers upward. Even today, visitors report an uncanny sense of reverence when the stalactites are played, a fleeting echo of ancient devotion. Next, we'll venture to Orkney's Neolithic tomb of Misho, where the winter solstice sun transforms wind into ghostly song. Leaving the echoing chambers of Beit Guvrin behind, we now travel north to where stone and sunlight perform an ancient duet. On Orkney's windswept islands, the 5,000-year-old tomb of Misho holds an acoustic marvel tied to the rhythms of the year. This massive Neolithic chamber, built with slabs weighing tens of tons, becomes an instrument each winter solstice. As the sun dips to its lowest point, light pierces the tomb's entrance passage, striking the back wall with eerie precision. But it's not just a light show. The same alignment that guides the sun also funnels the island's relentless winds, transforming gusts into something resembling human song. The phenomenon occurs when air rushes through the narrow, 36-foot passageway. The tomb's builders shaped this corridor with uncanny acoustic awareness. Its angle and stone surfaces cause the wind to split into harmonic frequencies. Visitors describe hearing what sounds like distant chanting or a sustained choir note, though no human source is present. Modern researchers have measured these vibrations, finding they cluster around the same pitches used in ritual music across ancient cultures. What's most striking is how the sound shifts with the solstice light. As sunlight floods the chamber, warming the air inside, the wind's tone rises slightly in pitch, creating an interplay of light and sound that feels eerily intentional. Archaeologists speculate this was no accident. The tomb's builders likely observed how winter winds interacted with the structure over generations, refining its design to amplify this effect. Local folklore speaks of the tomb as a gateway for voices, where ancestors could speak through the wind. Standing inside Misho during the solstice, the experience is hauntingly visceral. The low hum seems to emanate from the stones themselves, a reminder that Neolithic architects understood their materials not just as shelter, but as a medium for transcendence. Next, we'll cross the globe to Easter Island, where the island's iconic statues may hold their own secrets of sound. Now, let's journey across the vast Pacific to one of the most remote places on Earth, Easter Island. Here, the iconic Moai statues stand as silent sentinels, but some visitors claim they aren't as silent as they appear. Reports suggest that certain statues emit a mysterious low hum when the wind blows just right, a phenomenon deeply tied to Rapa Nui oral traditions. The sound is described as a deep, resonant vibration, almost like the statues themselves are humming. This isn't just random noise. Locals have long spoken of the Moai as vessels of ancestral energy, and some believe these sounds are the voices of the past. Researchers have noted that the hum occurs under specific wind conditions, usually when strong gusts hit the statues at precise angles. The porous volcanic rock known as tuff, from which the moai are carved, may play a key role. Its natural cavities and fissures could act like wind instruments, channeling air to produce these eerie tones. What makes this even more fascinating is how these sounds align with Rapa Nui legends. Stories passed down through generations describe the moai as more than just stone figures. They were believed to hold the mana or spiritual power of the ancestors they represented. Some elders say the humming is a sign that the ancestors are still present, watching over the island. Modern acoustic studies have tried to replicate the effect, but the exact conditions needed to trigger the sound remain elusive, adding to the mystery. Standing near one of these statues when the wind picks up, the experience is surreal. The low hum seems to rise from the earth itself, blending with the natural sounds of the island. Whether it's the work of ancient craftsmanship, geological quirks, or something beyond our understanding, the humming moai remind us that Easter Island's secrets are far from fully uncovered. Next, we'll descend into the depths of Turkey, where an entire underground city holds whispers that defy explanation. Now, let's venture beneath the surface of Turkey's Cappadocia region, where the ancient underground city of Derinkuyu hides an acoustic mystery that has baffled visitors for centuries. This sprawling labyrinth, carved deep into the soft volcanic rock, isn't just an engineering marvel, it's also home to eerie whispers that seem to travel through its walls like ghostly echoes. The phenomenon occurs in Derinkuyu's intricate network of ventilation shafts, which were designed to provide fresh air to the city's inhabitants thousands of years ago. But these shafts do something unexpected. They carry voices over impossible distances, turning faint murmurs into clear, disembodied whispers. Someone speaking softly in one chamber might be heard perfectly in another, dozens of meters away, as if the walls themselves are repeating their words. Locals call these ghost voices, and they've sparked legends of unseen spirits lingering in the tunnels. Acoustic experts have studied these shafts and found that their narrow, smooth walls act like natural sound tunnels, channeling vibrations with almost no distortion. The rock's unique composition, lightweight yet dense, absorbs just enough noise to prevent echoes while allowing voices to travel startlingly far. Some researchers believe the ancient builders may have intentionally designed these features, either for communication or even ritual purposes. Imagine living in this underground world where whispers from unseen neighbors could drift through the darkness, creating an atmosphere thick with mystery. Visitors today still report hearing these phantom voices, often when least expected. A guide might be explaining the city's history in one chamber, only for their words to suddenly reach a group far down the passageway, as if the walls are playing tricks. Whether it's an ingenious ancient design or an unintended quirk of geology, the whispering walls of Derinkuyu remind us that even the most practical structures can hold secrets that defy explanation. Next, we'll step into Mexico's Cave of the Crystals, where towering selenite formations may have once created an otherworldly soundscape. Now, let's journey into the depths of Mexico's Naka mine, where nature sculpted one of the most surreal acoustic environments on Earth, the Cave of the Crystals. Hidden nearly 300 meters below the surface, this cavern is home to towering selenite crystals, some reaching the length of school buses. But beyond their breathtaking beauty, these crystals may have once created a soundscape unlike anything we experience today. The cave's massive crystals, formed over hundreds of thousands of years in mineral-rich waters, have unique acoustic properties. Researchers suggest that before modern mining drained the cavern, the submerged crystals would have vibrated subtly in the water, creating faint harmonic tones as currents passed through them. Imagine standing in that ancient, flooded chamber, surrounded by glowing crystals humming with an almost musical resonance, a natural symphony echoing through the darkness. Even today, with the cave drained, tests show that striking or rubbing the dry selenite produces eerie, metallic reverberations. Some scientists theorize that indigenous peoples might have discovered this phenomenon long before miners did, possibly using the cave for rituals where sound played a central role. The crystal's ability to amplify and distort noises could have made whispers sound like shouts or turned chants into cascading echoes, creating an otherworldly atmosphere perfect for spiritual ceremonies. Local legends hint at this possibility, with stories of singing caves where shamans communicated with spirits. While we'll never know for certain how the cave was used in antiquity, the physics of these crystals leaves no doubt they could have turned the entire chamber into a natural instrument. Next, we'll uncover the secrets of China's Sangsingdui bronze mirrors, where reflections weren't the only things that seemed to bend reality. Now, shifting our focus to ancient China, we arrive at the enigmatic bronze mirrors of Sangsingdui artifacts that may have held more than just reflective power. Unearthed from a civilization that thrived over 3,000 years ago, these mirrors weren't merely tools for vanity. Ancient texts hint at something far more intriguing. They could manipulate sound. Imagine standing before one of these polished bronze discs, speaking softly, only to hear your voice twist into something unrecognizable, echoes warped as if by magic. Archaeologists studying the mirror's unusual curvature and intricate design suggest they weren't just decorative. When struck or spoken near, certain mirrors produce strange reverberations, bending tones in ways that defy normal acoustics. Some scholars believe priests used them in rituals where distorted voices might have been interpreted as messages from ancestors or deities. The mirror's surfaces, meticulously cast with symbolic patterns, could have acted like primitive soundboards, amplifying whispers into ghostly murmurs or splitting chants into harmonic layers. Local legends speak of mirrors that answered back, and while modern science can explain the physics behind the echoes, the intentionality remains a mystery. Were these sonic effects deliberate, a form of ancient audio engineering meant to awe worshippers, or simply a happy accident harnessed by clever ritualists? Either way, the Sangsingdui mirrors remind us that the past often holds secrets just beyond our grasp. Next, we'll step into the moonlit ruins of Palenque, where the night itself seems to whisper forgotten prayers. As dusk settles over the ancient city of Palenque, a different kind of mystery awakens among its crumbling temples. Visitors and researchers alike have reported something unsettling, voices chanting in the darkness, though no living soul is present to produce them. These eerie night chants, often described as rhythmic and melodic, seem to rise from the very stones themselves, filling the moonlit courtyards with an otherworldly chorus. The phenomenon is most frequently reported near the Temple of the Inscriptions, where the great Mayan ruler Pakal was laid to rest. Some claim the chants resemble traditional Mayan ceremonial music, with deep, resonant tones that echo through the corridors long after the last tourist has left. Archaeologists have scoured the site for hidden chambers or acoustic anomalies, yet no physical source has ever been found. The sounds don't align with wind patterns or animal calls, leaving experts baffled. Local guides whisper that these are the voices of the ancestors, still performing rituals from beyond the veil. Skeptics suggest it could be an unusual trick of acoustics, where distant village noises are somehow funneled through the temple's architecture. But here's the strangest part: recordings of the chants often come out garbled or silent, as if the sounds resist being captured. Whether it's a lingering imprint of the past or something science can't yet explain, Palenque's night chants remain one of the most haunting auditory mysteries of the ancient world. Next, we'll journey to the storm-worn gates of Mycenae, where thunder wasn't just weather, it was the voice of the gods. Now, let's turn our attention to the rugged hills of ancient Greece, where the mighty Lion Gate of Mycenae stands as a silent sentinel to a long-lost civilization. This towering limestone gateway, crowned with its iconic lion relief, wasn't just a grand entrance, it may have been an ancient sound amplifier, transforming the roar of thunderstorms into what worshippers believed were the voices of the gods. When storms rolled in from the Argolid plain, the gate's unique architecture, its thick walls and narrow, upward-sloping passage, could have acted like a natural megaphone. The booming thunder would echo through the corridor, its sound distorted and amplified until it seemed to rumble from the very stones themselves. Imagine standing in that shadowed passage as lightning split the sky, hearing what sounded like a deity speaking from the heavens. Archaeoacoustic studies suggest the Mycenaeans, who built this fortress around 3,200 years ago, might have intentionally designed the gate to harness these effects. The Lion Gate aligns with a natural wind tunnel where storm gusts would funnel through, adding eerie howls to the thunder's growl. Some scholars argue this wasn't just coincidence, it was sacred engineering meant to awe visitors and reinforce the king's divine connection. Local legends speak of Zeus himself speaking through the gate during storms, his words carried on the wind. Even today, visitors report an uncanny resonance in the structure, as if the stones remember their ancient role. Whether by design or accident, the Thunder Gate of Mycenae proves that sometimes the most powerful voices aren't human at all. They're written in the language of wind and weather. Next, we'll uncover the melodic secret hidden in the footsteps of Pakistan's ancient Taxila stupa. Now, let's journey east to the ancient ruins of Taxila in Pakistan, where the Singing Stupa holds a musical secret hidden in plain sight. This Buddhist shrine, dating back over 2,000 years, isn't just a silent monument, it's an architectural instrument waiting to be played. As pilgrims walk clockwise around the stupa in prayer, their footsteps trigger a remarkable phenomenon. Hidden chambers beneath the structure resonate, producing melodic tones that seem to rise from the earth itself. These aren't random echoes, they're carefully tuned frequencies, matching the scales used in ancient Buddhist chants. Imagine the awe of hearing your own devotion transformed into music, as if the shrine itself were joining your prayers. Archaeologists believe this was no accident. The stupa's builders likely designed these hidden chambers to amplify specific harmonic frequencies, turning ritual circumambulation into a multisensory spiritual experience. Modern acoustic tests reveal that the tones vary depending on the walker's pace. Faster steps create higher pitches, slower ones deepen the sound. Some scholars suggest this may have been an early form of musical meditation, where movement and sound intertwine to focus the mind. Local monks still speak of the stupa's divine choir, claiming the melodies change with the seasons or the time of day. Whether it's the wind passing through unseen passages or some forgotten acoustic trickery, one thing is certain: the Singing Stupa of Taxila proves that sacred spaces don't just house the divine. Sometimes they sing back. Next, we'll hear the haunting echoes of a mountain fortress where the wind carries whispers of an ancient tragedy. Leaving behind the melodic whispers of Taxila, we now find ourselves standing atop the windswept cliffs of Masada in Israel, where the very air seems to carry echoes of an ancient tragedy. This desert fortress, perched high above the Dead Sea, holds more than just crumbling stone walls. It holds a soundscape that chills the soul. When strong winds rush through the narrow mountain pass, they produce an eerie moaning that many say mirrors the final cries of the Jewish rebels who once made their last stand here. According to the historian Josephus, nearly 1,000 men, women, and children chose death over surrender when Roman forces besieged Masada in the 1st century. Today, visitors often report hearing what sounds like distant wails when the wind picks up, a phenomenon so unsettling that local guides call it the Moaning Pass. The acoustics here are no accident. The fortress's natural rock formations act like a giant wind instrument, channeling gusts through crevices and tunnels to create these haunting tones. Scientists have studied the effect, confirming that the specific shape of the cliffs amplifies certain frequencies, making the wind sound eerily human. Some believe the ancient builders may have even enhanced these features intentionally, turning the landscape itself into a memorial for those who perished. Whether coincidence or design, the result is undeniable. Standing here at sunset, with the wind howling through the ruins, you can almost hear history whispering its sorrow. Up next, we'll uncover another ancient mystery, this time in Malta, where strange concave stones seem to capture and amplify distant sounds like prehistoric surveillance devices. Now let's journey from the mournful winds of Masada to the sun-drenched islands of Malta, where an even more puzzling acoustic mystery awaits. Here, scattered across the ancient landscape, lie strange concave stones, curved slabs of limestone that seem almost otherworldly in their design. These aren't just ordinary rocks. When you stand in front of one and speak, your voice doesn't just echo. It gets focused and amplified, as if the stone itself is bending sound to its will. Archaeologists believe these stones date back to Malta's Bronze Age, a time when the islands were dotted with sprawling temple complexes. The big question is, why would ancient people carve these peculiar sound mirrors? One compelling theory suggests they were used as an early form of surveillance. Imagine priests or temple guards whispering into these stones, their voices carried and sharpened over long distances, allowing them to monitor approaching visitors or even communicate secretly across the sacred sites. Modern experiments have confirmed the stone's remarkable acoustic properties. Certain frequencies, especially human speech, bounce off the curved surfaces with startling clarity, even at distances that would normally make whispers impossible to hear. Some researchers think these stones might have been part of a larger, intentional soundscape, a way to create awe or even fear among those entering the temples. After all, hearing a disembodied voice echoing from a stone would have felt nothing short of supernatural to someone 3,000 years ago. Whether for practical use or ritual theater, Malta's sound mirrors remind us that ancient cultures didn't just build with stone. They built with sound, shaping their world in ways we're only beginning to understand. Next, we'll step into the labyrinthine corridors of Knossos, where the very walls seem to twist and play tricks on the ears. Now, let's unravel the mysteries of sound in the twisting corridors of Knossos, where the very walls seem to whisper secrets from the past. Crete's sprawling Minoan palace wasn't just a marvel of architecture. It was a carefully crafted soundscape designed to disorient and awe. Picture this: narrow, winding passageways lined with smooth plaster walls, their curves bending sound in unpredictable ways. A single footstep could ripple through the labyrinth, bouncing off surfaces until it seemed to come from every direction at once. Archaeologists believe these acoustic tricks weren't accidental. During bull-leaping rituals, a dangerous and sacred sport where athletes vaulted over charging bulls, the echoes may have played a key role. Imagine the roar of the crowd, the pounding of hooves, and the gasps of spectators, all multiplied and distorted by the palace's design. For participants, the disorienting soundscape could have heightened the intensity, making the ritual feel even more supernatural. Some researchers suggest the echoes might have mimicked the bellowing of the Minotaur, the mythical beast said to lurk in Knossos' labyrinth. Modern experiments reveal just how clever the Minoans were with sound. Certain corridors act like natural amplifiers, while others scatter noise into a chaotic chorus. Even a whisper near one of the central courtyards can travel startling distances, as if the palace itself is eavesdropping. Whether intended to intimidate, mystify, or simply enhance the drama of their ceremonies, Knossos proves that the Minoans didn't just build for the eyes, they built for the ears. Next, we'll journey to the highlands of Mexico, where an ancient Zapotec altar turns ordinary handclaps into something far more musical. Leaving the echoing halls of Knossos behind, we arrive at the sun-baked ruins of Monte Albán, where an ancient altar holds a musical secret. High in Mexico's Oaxacan highlands, the Zapotec civilization built a ceremonial platform that doesn't just reflect sound, it transforms it into music. Picture standing before this massive stone structure, clapping your hands once. Instead of a flat echo, you hear two distinct tones ringing back at you, perfectly spaced like notes on a scale. That's no accident. Archaeoacoustic studies reveal this platform was engineered to produce perfect fifth intervals, a harmonic relationship found in musical systems worldwide. When you clap near the altar's center, the sound splits into pitches roughly 7 semitones apart, mirroring the same interval used in everything from medieval chants to modern pop music. What's astonishing is how precisely the Zapotecs calibrated this effect. The platform's dimensions, angles, and even the type of stone were carefully chosen to create these musical echoes. Why would an ancient culture build a singing altar? Researchers believe it ties into the Zapotec sacred cosmology. Perfect fifths were considered spiritually significant across many Mesoamerican cultures, representing balance between earthly and divine realms. During rituals, priests may have used these echoes to communicate with deities, their claps transformed into celestial harmonies. Modern musicians have even experimented with composing pieces using the altar's natural acoustics, proving its tones align with traditional Zapotec scales. What makes this even more remarkable is that the effect still works flawlessly after 1500 years. Whether you're an archaeologist, a musician, or just someone who loves a good mystery, Monte Alban's harmonic altar reminds us that the past isn't silent, it's still singing to us. Now let's travel to the windswept plains of Ethiopia, where towering stone obelisks seem to whisper secrets between them. Crossing continents to the ancient kingdom of Axum, we find ourselves surrounded by towering stone sentinels that seem to share secrets on the wind. These massive obelisks, some standing over 20 meters tall, aren't just monuments, they're part of an acoustic mystery that's puzzled researchers for decades. Among the scattered stelae in this Ethiopian field, certain pairs of monoliths behave like ancient telephones. When two people stand at specific points near these stones, whispers travel between them with eerie clarity, as if the stones themselves are passing messages. What's even stranger is that this effect only works under precise conditions, usually at dawn or dusk, when the air is still and humidity levels are just right. Archaeoacoustic studies suggest the obelisk's placement and material play a key role. The basalt stone they're carved from has unique resonant properties, and their slightly concave surfaces may act like natural sound reflectors. But here's the real puzzle. Some of these whispering pairs are nearly 100 meters apart, far beyond normal hearing range. Local legends say Axumite priests used this phenomenon for sacred communications, passing divine pronouncements between temple sites without anyone else overhearing. Modern experiments confirm the effect is real, though no one's fully unraveled how the Axumites engineered it. Some researchers think underground channels or hidden chambers might amplify the sound, while others point to the precise angles at which the obelisks were erected. What we do know is that these stones weren't randomly placed. Their positions align with celestial events and sacred geography, hinting at a deeper purpose. Could this be an ancient form of acoustic architecture designed to create a sacred soundscape? The whispering obelisks challenge our assumptions about how ancient cultures used sound. Unlike the harmonic echoes of Monte Alban, this isn't about music. It's about secrecy, about voices traveling unseen between stones like spirits passing through walls. Next, we'll venture to England's rolling countryside, where an entire stone circle seems to come alive with rhythm. Now let's step into the misty green fields of England, where the ancient stones of Avebury hold a rhythmic secret. This sprawling stone circle, even larger than its famous neighbor Stonehenge, isn't just a silent monument, it's a prehistoric percussion instrument. Among the massive sarsen stones that dot the landscape, certain ones produce deep, resonant tones when struck, like natural drums echoing across the centuries. Archaeologists have discovered that these musical stones share a unique geological trait. They're made of a particularly dense type of sandstone with internal fractures that vibrate at specific frequencies. When tapped with smaller rocks or even bare hands, they emit clear, drum-like sounds that can carry surprisingly far. Local folklore speaks of rituals where these stones were played during solstices, their booming notes marking sacred moments in the agricultural calendar. Modern experiments reveal something even more fascinating. The drumming stones aren't randomly placed. They cluster along key points of the circle's layout, often aligned with sunrise or sunset during major celestial events. Some researchers believe this was intentional, turning the entire site into a giant soundscape where rhythm and astronomy intertwined. Imagine standing here 5,000 years ago, surrounded by the deep, pulsing beats of stones struck in ceremony, their vibrations felt as much as heard. What's still unclear is whether the Avebury builders sought out these special rocks deliberately or discovered their sonic properties by accident. Either way, the effect is undeniable. These aren't just stones, they're instruments frozen in time. Next, we'll cross continents again to a temple where the very walls seem to weep with sorrow. Now we journey to the sands of ancient Syria, where the Temple of Bel once stood as a magnificent testament to Roman and Near Eastern architecture. Beneath its grand colonnades lay a hidden chamber that earned a haunting reputation, the so-called crying chamber. Visitors and priests alike reported eerie weeping sounds emanating from this underground space, described as mournful, human-like sobs with no visible source. The phenomenon was documented for centuries, with ancient texts suggesting the chamber amplified natural sounds in unsettling ways. Some scholars believe underground water channels beneath the temple may have created distorted echoes, turning dripping water or wind currents into spectral cries. Others point to the chamber's unique acoustics. Its curved stone walls and narrow passageways could have warped ordinary sounds into something unrecognizable. Local legends told a darker story, claiming the chamber absorbed the grief of those who sought refuge there during times of war. Tragically, the temple itself fell victim to modern conflict, destroyed in 2015. But before its loss, archaeologists managed to record strange acoustic anomalies in the chamber, brief, unexplained bursts of sound that defied easy explanation. What makes this mystery especially poignant is how it intertwines with history's fragility. The weeping sounds, whether natural or something more enigmatic, are now silenced, leaving only questions behind. Next, we'll uncover how Turkey's Neolithic artists may have painted with sound in mind. Turning our attention to an even older mystery, let's travel back over 9,000 years to Çatalhöyük, one of the world's first known cities. Here, archaeologists have uncovered something extraordinary, wall paintings that might not just be art but part of an ancient acoustic system. The vibrant murals of leopards, bulls, and geometric patterns aren't randomly placed. Researchers noticed something peculiar. These paintings often cluster in specific spots where sound behaves unusually. Stand in front of certain murals and your voice carries farther or takes on a strange resonance. It's as if the artists knew exactly where to paint to mark these acoustic hotspots. Some theories suggest these were ritual spaces where chanting or drumming would have been amplified, creating an immersive experience for ceremonies. Imagine a shaman's voice echoing off the walls, distorted just enough to feel otherworldly, while flickering torchlight made the painted animals seem to move. Recent studies using modern acoustic mapping reveal that the densest concentrations of paintings align with areas where sound waves bounce in unique patterns. The builders might have intentionally shaped the plastered walls or positioned benches to enhance these effects. Even the choice of pigments could play a role. Some contain minerals that subtly alter how sound travels. What's fascinating is how this blends art and science in a way we rarely associate with Neolithic cultures. Were these paintings visual markers for sacred sound zones? Did they guide where people should sing, chant, or listen for divine messages? While we may never know for certain, Çatalhöyük reminds us that ancient people didn't just see their world, they heard it in ways we're only beginning to understand. Next, we'll venture to the Americas, where wind itself becomes an instrument at the Great Serpent Mound. Now let's cross the Atlantic to uncover another acoustic marvel, this time in the rolling hills of Ohio. The Great Serpent Mound, a massive earthwork shaped like a coiled snake, holds a secret that only reveals itself when the wind blows just right. Stretching over 1,300 feet, this ancient effigy isn't just a visual wonder, it might have been designed to sing. On certain days, particularly around solstices, Visitors report hearing eerie, flute-like tones rising from the mound's curves. Researchers believe the serpent's carefully sculpted ridges act like natural wind instruments, channeling breezes to produce harmonic sounds. Picture standing there as the wind sweeps across the land, and suddenly the earth itself seems to hum, a low, vibrating note that shifts pitch as the air moves through the serpent's undulating body. Archaeoacoustic studies suggest the mound's builders may have intentionally shaped the earth to harness these sounds. The curves align with seasonal wind patterns, creating resonance during times of celestial significance. For the indigenous cultures who built it, these tones could have marked sacred moments, blending music with astronomy. Some even speculate the sounds mimic the hiss or song of a serpent, tying into creation myths or spiritual messages. What's striking is how passive this acoustic effect is. No human intervention needed, just the right alignment of earth and wind. It's a reminder that ancient sacred sites often worked with nature, not against it. As we ponder whether these sounds were accidental or deliberate, the Great Serpent Mound whispers a tantalizing clue. Sometimes the land itself holds the oldest songs. Next, we'll climb even higher to Machu Picchu, where a mysterious stone niche seems to bend human voices in ways that defy explanation. Leaving the whispering winds of Ohio behind, we now ascend to the mist-shrouded heights of Machu Picchu, where the stones themselves seem to hold secrets. Nestled within these ancient Incan ruins lies a curious stone enclosure known as the Humming Niche, a small, trapezoidal alcove that plays tricks with sound in ways that still puzzle researchers today. Visitors who step inside this carefully crafted space discover something extraordinary. When you speak or hum into the niche, your voice doesn't just echo, it transforms. The sound becomes amplified, distorted, almost otherworldly, as if the walls are bending the vibrations in ways that defy normal acoustics. Some describe it as hearing their own voice layered over itself, while others report eerie harmonic overtones that weren't there when the sound left their lips. What makes this phenomenon even more intriguing is the precision of the stonework. The niche's walls are angled and smoothed with the same expert craftsmanship seen throughout Machu Picchu, suggesting this wasn't an accident. Archaeoacoustic studies reveal that the dimensions and materials of the enclosure create unique sound reflections, almost like a natural amplifier. Could this have been a sacred space for rituals where altered voices were believed to carry messages to the gods, or perhaps a tool for priests to project their chants across the mountaintop? Local guides share stories of the niche being used for ceremonial purposes, with the distorted sounds representing the voices of ancestors or spirits. Modern scientists, meanwhile, continue to study how the Incas might have intentionally engineered such acoustic effects without modern technology. One thing's certain: standing in that niche, feeling your own voice twist and swell around you, it's impossible not to wonder what secrets the builders knew about sound that we're only beginning to uncover. From this high-altitude mystery, we'll journey next to the plains of China, where Shang Dynasty bronze vessels may hold clues to another ancient acoustic marvel. Now, let's travel from the heights of Machu Picchu to the ancient plains of China, where the Shang Dynasty left behind a legacy of bronze that still resonates today. Among the treasures unearthed at Yinzhou, the last capital of the Shang Dynasty, are massive ritual vessels that reveal a sophisticated understanding of sound. These weren't just ceremonial objects, they were instruments, carefully crafted to produce specific tones when struck. Inscriptions found alongside these bronzes describe elaborate rituals where the deep, resonant gongs of these vessels filled sacred spaces, creating immersive soundscapes. The tones weren't random, they were tuned, likely to match specific musical scales or harmonic frequencies believed to connect the earthly and divine realms. Archaeologists have noted that the thickness and shape of these bronzes were meticulously designed, suggesting the Shang metallurgists had an advanced grasp of acoustics long before modern science. Some researchers theorize these gongs were used to mark important moments in ceremonies, their vibrations thought to carry prayers to the ancestors or even influence the natural world. Others point to the way sound waves from these bronzes might have interacted with temple architecture, creating eerie echoes or layered harmonies. What's undeniable is that these artifacts show us a culture that didn't just use sound, they mastered it, weaving it into the very fabric of their spirituality. As we move forward, we'll explore how these ancient acoustic traditions echo in another corner of the world, where the earth itself seems to sing. Now, shifting our focus to the vast desert landscapes of the American Southwest, we arrive at Choco Canyon, where the ancestral Puebloan people built structures that seem to harness the very voice of the earth itself. Here, deep within the canyon's towering sandstone walls, a network of ceremonial kivas and great houses holds an acoustic secret echoing wells that transform ordinary sounds into something extraordinary. These circular, subterranean chambers weren't just places of gathering, they were carefully designed to amplify and distort sound in ways that defy simple explanation. When voices or drum beats resonate within these spaces, the sound waves bounce off the curved walls, creating eerie, lingering echoes that seem to come from all directions at once. Archaeologists have discovered that the placement of these kivas aligns with natural rock formations, effectively turning the entire canyon into a giant sound reflector. What's even more fascinating is how these acoustic effects may have been used in rituals. Some researchers believe the echoing wells were intentionally positioned to create auditory illusions, making a single speaker's voice sound like a chorus or even mimicking the rumble of thunder. Others suggest the distortions were meant to disorient participants, inducing trance-like states during ceremonies. The ancestral Puebloans' understanding of their environment was so precise that they could predict how sound would travel at different times of day, using the canyon's natural acoustics to enhance their spiritual practices. As we listen to the whispers of Choco Canyon, we're reminded that these ancient architects didn't just build with stone, they composed with sound, crafting spaces where every echo carried meaning. And with that, our journey takes us next to the musical staircases of Mitla, where the very steps seem to sing beneath your feet. Now, let's journey south to the sun-baked ruins of Mitla, where the Zapotec people left behind a marvel that turns architecture into music. Here, in what was once a bustling ceremonial center, the very staircases seem to sing. As you climb the steps of the Palace of the Columns, each footfall produces a clear, resonant tone like notes plucked from some ancient instrument. These aren't accidental echoes. The Zapotec builders crafted these staircases with precise dimensions, spacing each step to vibrate at specific frequencies when struck. Modern acoustic studies reveal something astonishing. The tones match the pentatonic scale, a 5-note musical system used across pre-Columbian Mesoamerica. It's as if the palace itself was designed to be played, transforming visitors into unwitting musicians. Why go to such lengths? Some scholars believe the singing steps were part of ritual processions, where the act of ascending became a form of auditory worship. The tones may have symbolized a connection between earth and sky, each step a musical bridge to the divine. Others suggest the sounds served a practical purpose, acoustic markers guiding priests through ceremonies in the dim light of dawn or dusk. What's undeniable is the ingenuity behind it. Without metal tools or written records, the Zapotec encoded their understanding of sound into stone, creating a permanent melody waiting to be awakened by footsteps. And as we leave Mitla's musical ruins behind, our next stop takes us to the rolling hills of England, where the stones themselves seem to hum with storm warnings. Moving from the musical steps of Mitla, we now find ourselves in the misty countryside of England, where an ancient stone circle holds its own acoustic secret. The Rollright Stones, a mysterious ring of weathered megaliths, have long been whispered to come alive with sound when storms approach. Locals and visitors alike report that certain stones begin to vibrate and emit a low, eerie hum just before the skies darken, a phenomenon that's earned them the name thunderstones. What could explain this uncanny behavior? Geologists point to the unique composition of the stones themselves. Some contain high concentrations of quartz, a mineral known to generate small electrical charges under pressure, a property called piezoelectricity. When storm fronts move in, shifts in atmospheric pressure may cause these stones to vibrate subtly, producing audible frequencies. But here's the twist: not all the stones in the circle react this way, suggesting the builders may have intentionally selected specific rocks for this purpose. Folklore adds another layer to the mystery. Legends claim the stones were once a king and his knights petrified by a witch's curse. The humming, some say, is their doomed army stirring before battle whenever thunder rumbles. Whether scientific or supernatural, the effect is undeniable. Modern researchers have recorded these sounds, confirming the stones do resonate at frequencies just within human hearing range when barometric pressure drops sharply. Could this have been an ancient weather warning system, or perhaps a ritual tool to summon storms for agricultural blessings? The rollright stones keep their secrets close. But as we leave this humming circle behind, our next stop takes us even deeper into the realm of sacred sound, where wind through carved channels creates harmonies too precise to ignore. Now let's journey to the sun-drenched coast of ancient Turkey, where the Temple of Apollo at Didyma held one of the Mediterranean's most enigmatic sound phenomena. Here, deep within the temple's inner sanctum, a sacred spring whispered secrets, or so the priests claimed. Visitors seeking guidance from the oracle would listen intently to the spring's bubbling waters, interpreting each gurgle and splash as divine messages from Apollo himself. Archaeologists have uncovered clues suggesting this wasn't mere superstition. The spring's underground channels and carefully carved stone basins may have amplified and distorted the water's natural sounds, creating an otherworldly acoustic effect. When air trapped in the subterranean passages escaped through narrow fissures, it could produce rhythmic bubbling or even low, flute-like tone sounds that might easily be mistaken for a god's breath. Recent experiments with reconstructed channels show how specific water flow rates could generate predictable patterns of sound, almost like a liquid code. Priests trained to read these auditory cues might have used them to craft ambiguous prophecies, a clever blend of hydrology and theater. But was it all human ingenuity? Some accounts describe the spring's sounds shifting dramatically without explanation, even drying up entirely before calamities like the Persian invasion. Whether engineered or eerie, the oracle's breath reminds us how ancient cultures turned the ordinary, a bubbling spring, into the extraordinary. And as we follow these sacred sounds further, our next stop reveals how even the wind could be sculpted into something divine. High in the Andes, where the air hums with ancient secrets, we find the Gate of the Sun at Teotihuacán, a massive stone archway that doesn't just stand silent but sings. Carved from a single block of andesite weighing over 10 tons, this 1,500-year-old monument is etched with intricate channels and grooves. When the wind races across the altiplano at just the right angle, something extraordinary happens. Those channels transform into a natural wind instrument, producing eerie harmonic overtones that seem to vibrate through the very stones. Archaeoacoustic studies reveal the precision behind this phenomenon. The gate's upper arch contains a series of shallow, fluted carvings, not merely decorative, but carefully spaced to catch specific wind frequencies. As air rushes through these channels, it creates a cascading series of tones, almost like a Stone Age synthesizer. Local Aymara traditions speak of the gate as a portal where the wind carried messages from the gods, and modern experiments confirm that certain spots near the arch amplify these sounds dramatically, creating pockets where whispers feel supernatural. But here's the puzzle: the gate's alignment suggests it wasn't just about wind. During the winter solstice, sunlight strikes the arch at an angle that makes the carvings cast shifting shadows, while the harmonic tones peak in intensity. Was this a deliberate fusion of light and sound designed to awe worshippers, or could these overtones, some matching frequencies known to induce trance states, have been part of rituals? As the wind dies down, the gate falls silent again, leaving us to wonder how a civilization without modern acoustics engineered such precision. Next, we'll uncover how even the flicker of firelight could bring ancient cave paintings to life with sound. Deep in the darkness of France's Lascaux cave, where Paleolithic artists painted breathtaking animals over 17,000 years ago, the walls don't just show creatures, they seem to speak. Imagine standing in these underground chambers, your only light coming from flickering torches or animal fat lamps casting dancing shadows across the cave's curves. As the flames shift, something uncanny happens. The painted bison, horses, and deer appear to move, their mouths opening and closing as if emitting sounds lost to time. Researchers call this the flicker effect, a phenomenon where unstable light sources interact with the cave's uneven surfaces to create illusions of motion. But there's more. Acoustic studies reveal that the chambers with the most vivid animations also have unusual sound properties. Certain spots amplify low-frequency noises like drumming or chanting, while others distort echoes into animal-like groans. When combined with the flickering light, the effect would have been overwhelming, a multisensory ritual where art literally came alive. Some archaeologists propose that these caves weren't just galleries but prehistoric theaters, where shamans used sound and light to conjure spirits. The most telling clue: many paintings are placed in areas almost impossible to view without firelight, often at acoustic hotspots where voices carry strangely. A stag painted near a recess might suddenly seem to bellow when a singer hits the right note. A herd of horses could appear to stampede as torchlight sweeps past them, their hoofbeats mimicked by someone drumming on the cave walls. Yet the biggest mystery remains: did the artists know how their work would interact with fire and sound? The precision of the placements suggests an intimate understanding of these effects. Were they creating the world's first immersive art installations, or were they capturing moments when the spirit world truly seemed to speak through the stone? As we leave the echoing depths of Lascaux, our next sound mystery takes us to the sunlit temples of Malta, where stones don't just stand, they sing. Now, let's journey from the shadowy caves of Lascaux to the sun-drenched cliffs of Malta, where an ancient temple holds a musical secret in its very stones. At Hypogeum, a megalithic complex older than the pyramids, certain columns don't just support the structure, they sing. When struck lightly, these massive limestone blocks produce clear, resonant tones, as if the temple itself were humming an ancient melody. What makes this even more fascinating is the geology behind the phenomenon. The stones at Hypogeum contain high concentrations of silica, giving them a unique crystalline structure that vibrates at specific frequencies. Archaeoacoustic studies have shown that these singing columns weren't randomly placed. They're often positioned near altars or passageways, suggesting they played a role in rituals. Imagine a priest tapping a sequence of stones, creating a haunting scale that echoed through the temple, perhaps calling worshippers to ceremony or even mimicking the voices of deities. Local folklore adds another layer to the mystery. Legends speak of the temple's builders, giants or divine beings who infused the stones with music to communicate with the gods. Modern researchers have tested the acoustics, confirming that certain spots in Hypogeum amplify these tones unnaturally, creating pockets of sound that seem to hover in the air. Was this intentional? The precision of the stone placements hints at a sophisticated understanding of sound, turning the entire temple into a kind of prehistoric instrument. As we listen to the echoes of Hypogeum's singing stones, our next stop takes us even deeper into the world of ancient sound magic, where carvings in a Scottish chapel might just hold the key to an eternal chord. Now, shifting our focus from the singing stones of Malta, we uncover an even broader ancient mystery etched into the very rocks of Europe. Scattered across the continent, certain Bronze Age petroglyphs, those intricate carvings on stone, might not just be art. They could be prehistoric sound maps guiding people through sacred landscapes with hidden acoustic cues. researchers have noticed something extraordinary about these carvings. Many are found in locations with unusual natural echoes or resonant frequencies. For example, in Portugal's Coa Valley, spirals and zigzag patterns are clustered near cliffs that produce distinct echoes when struck or when wind passes through crevices. Some archaeologists believe these symbols marked spots where sound behaved unpredictably, creating what ancient people might have considered voices of the spirits. Even more compelling, experiments have shown that certain rock art panels vibrate at specific frequencies when tapped, matching the motifs carved into them. A series of concentric circles might correspond to a low, drum-like tone, while jagged lines could align with sharper, higher-pitched echoes. This suggests that Bronze Age cultures didn't just see these landscapes as visual wonders, they heard them too and recorded their sonic signatures in stone. Could these carvings be a forgotten form of navigation, helping travelers or ritual participants find sacred spaces by sound? Or were they a way to preserve the auditory experience of these sites for future generations? Either way, these sound maps reveal a layer of ancient life we're only beginning to decode. As we piece together this acoustic puzzle, our next stop takes us to a place where architecture and sound intertwine in a way that still baffles scientists today. Moving from the ancient sound maps of Europe, we now step into a space where architecture itself seems to bend the laws of acoustics. Inside London's iconic St. Paul's Cathedral, visitors encounter something extraordinary: the Whispering Gallery. This circular walkway high above the nave has a peculiar property. If you whisper against its curved wall, someone standing on the opposite side, over 100 feet away, can hear your words as clearly as if you were right beside them. The dome's perfect geometry captures and carries sound waves along its surface, creating an effect that feels almost supernatural. But this isn't just a marvel of 17th century engineering. Centuries earlier, the architects of ancient Greece and Rome were experimenting with similar acoustic tricks. The Temple of Zeus in Olympia, for instance, featured a curved ceiling that amplified the voices of priests during rituals, making their pronouncements resonate across the sacred space. Meanwhile, in Rome, the Pantheon's massive dome, still the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome, was designed not just for grandeur but for sound. Whispers near its base travel upward along the curvature, creating an eerie effect where voices seem to descend from the heavens. What connects these ancient and modern structures? A deep understanding of how sound behaves in curved spaces. Whether intentional or discovered by accident, these whispering effects transformed ordinary speech into something mystical, blurring the line between human and divine communication. Did St. Paul's architects draw inspiration from these ancient temples, or did they stumble upon the same principles independently? Either way, the Whispering Gallery stands as proof that some acoustic secrets never fade. They simply echo through time. Next, we'll explore a place where stone carvings hold a musical secret, one that has hummed through the centuries waiting to be heard. Now, let's journey to the misty hills of Scotland, where Rosslyn Chapel holds a secret that has puzzled visitors for centuries. Hidden among its intricate stone carvings are patterns that some believe form a musical code, a frozen symphony etched into the very walls. The chapel's vaulted ceilings, adorned with hundreds of geometric designs, seem to hum with an otherworldly resonance when certain notes are sung or played. Researchers have discovered that these carvings, known as the Rosslyn cubes, align with musical frequencies. When mapped out, they correspond to a medieval harmonic sequence known as the Chladni patterns, where sound waves create visible shapes in sand or dust. This suggests the chapel's builders may have embedded acoustic knowledge into the architecture, turning the space into a giant instrument. Visitors often report hearing a sustained, ethereal chord, a single, unbroken note lingering in the air even when no one is singing. But was this intentional? Some theories point to the chapel's ties to the Knights Templar, who may have sought to preserve ancient sonic wisdom. Others argue it's a happy accident of physics, where the right combination of stone thickness and vault angles creates natural harmonics. Either way, the effect is undeniable. Stand in the right spot, and the chapel seems to breathe music, as if the very stones are holding a conversation across time. This brings us to the end of our sonic journey through sacred sites, but the mystery doesn't stop here. What other secrets might these ancient spaces still be whispering? As we wrap up this exploration of 50 unexplained sounds from ancient sacred sites, one thing becomes undeniably clear: our ancestors possessed a profound and sophisticated understanding of sound that we are only beginning to comprehend. From harmonic chambers that alter consciousness to whispering walls that carry voices across impossible distances, these acoustic marvels challenge our assumptions about ancient technology and spirituality. Were these phenomena carefully engineered by cultures attuned to the power of vibration, or are they simply happy accidents of architecture and geology? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between, a blend of intentional design and natural resonance that ancient peoples harnessed for ritual, healing, or communion with the divine. What's remarkable is how these sounds persist through centuries, still echoing with the same mystery today. They remind us that the past isn't silent, it's alive with vibrations waiting to be heard and decoded. Maybe you've encountered something similar in your travels: a strange echo in a temple, a hum in a cave, or a melody in the wind where none should exist. If so, we'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this journey through sonic history has left you curious, dive deeper with books like The Archaeology of Sound by Miriam Kohler or Echoes of the Ancient Skies by E.C. Krupp. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into history's greatest mysteries. Until next time, keep listening, because sometimes the past speaks loudest when we least expect it.